do the, hey, everybody, normally Jim kicks it off, but today I am because we're interviewing Jim. Jim, tell us about your background, how you got in real estate. Is that it?
Yeah, I would say, maybe warm that up a little bit with, hey, I've known Jim for a long, long time. I'm anxious for him to tell you a story. So Jim, start off with when you were a baby, or whatever you want to do there.
Yeah.
Let's have a little fun with it,
Okay.
and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yep. Is my light like, I don't know, I feel like I'm dark.
You're a little dark right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me try and change this. I move let me move the light closer.
Okay.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. All right.
Well, we'll keep working on this until it gets perfect anyway. So like I said, I'm gonna create a virtual background for me because Christy and I need one, and I'd love to have something a little better than just a dark blue behind me. So
does that, I mean, I've seen some of those that are not great because they blur every time the person moves. I mean, how does that work? Is it something you do from your end or something I have to do also here? I mean, how does that work?
No, actually it's on this end. I have a green screen. Okay. If you don't have a green screen and you're trying to do virtual background, you're going to get all that buzzing around and everything.
Right.
But if you have green screen, you're not going to get that.
Okay.
I mean, you're not going to have that at all. You're going to have a good solid image behind you. That'll work just fine. So.
Damn, man, it's getting worse. Or if I just stay right there.
Facing you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're already on record, so we'll leave a little dead space for making my editing a little easier, and then we'll rock.
Okay. Hey everybody, it's Jason Keller. Normally Jim's doing the introduction, but today I am because we're interviewing Jim. Our last podcast was about me and my background. So today we're going to ask Jim about how he got into real estate. Just a little bit of background. Jim and I have known each other for about 20 years. As I said before, I was in professional sales and luxury automobiles, and I actually hired Jim as my personal coach as a car salesman, which is kind of unheard of. But that's kicked off a long career and friendship for both of us. So Jim, anyway, I called Jim one day when I decided to get out of the car business, and he told me he had gotten into real estate, which I had no idea. So anyway, Jim, how did that happen? How did you get in real estate? Tell us about your background, or start wherever when you're 5, whatever feels natural. Just kick off there.
Yeah, Bill Cosby said once in a comedy deal, I started off as a child, and
Exactly.
I just turned 69 years old. So I seemed like a child. It was a long, long time ago. Jason, one of the things I tell people all the time, you've heard me say it. I'm a sales guy. Always have been, always will be. I think when done properly, it's one of the most honorable professions on the planet. My background is 17 years in sales and sales management with a couple of Fortune 50 companies. And literally on March 1st, I was thinking about this morning as I was getting out of bed, March 1st, 30 years ago, 1992, I left and started my own business. And I've been in those 30 years a professional speaker, trainer, consultant, and coach to some of the coolest sales organizations on the planet. And again, I've just had the privilege to do that. Nowadays, our business is primarily focused on helping organizations hire better sales talent. And then I coach a handful of sales professionals, sales VPs, folks like that as part of what I do. And it probably be really important to tell everybody that my wife and I live, travel, and work full-time in an RV. We started a full-time RV in about 2 years ago. For those of you who said, I got a little blue background back here. We have a Grand Design Momentum 399 toy hauler in the garage where most people would haul a motorcycle is our office. Christy still works full-time. She is a online counselor and works on 2 different online platforms. We have a podcast called Your Marriage Matters. Jason, as you know, I got my hand in a lot of things, but I spent, like I said, 30 years now in the sales industry, helping people as a trainer, as a professional keynote speaker, consultant, and as a coach. And a number of years ago, I'd say maybe 6 years ago now, 7 years ago, I had realized that I had gotten tired of traveling. I didn't want to get on planes anymore. This is way before COVID, but it was getting more and more difficult. I spent about 4 years in a row doing 100 plus speaking engagements a year, and I was on the road 250 days a year, and that gets old after a while. And so I made up my mind that real estate was what I was going to do next. It was going to be the next thing for me after professional speaking. So I had some friends that were with Keller Williams. I went to the local Keller Williams office and talked with Chad St. Jean there at Keller Williams Southwest and said, hey, I want to talk to you about getting a real estate license. And he did what every good team leader would do or broker would do at EXP or, wherever you might be. He talked to me about what it took to get a license and everything. And then he said, I knew you were coming in, so I did a little bit of research on you. And I was like, uh-oh, this never good. He said, you're a speaker, trainer, coach, a consultant, and I got a different opportunity for you. I said, okay, tell me about it. Well, he told me about productivity coaching. And they were in need of what's called a productivity coach at Keller Williams in that office. And basically, they take all the new agents and kind of shepherd them along to becoming successful full-time agents. And he told me about it. And he said, I think this is right up your line. And I said, actually, I do too. I said, make me an offer. And so he did. And being in sales, I said, make me a better offer. And he did. And does that sound strange coming from me, huh?
Yeah.
Can you see that coming from my mouth and everything? Make me a better offer. And
I'm surprised you're that easy on him, actually. Chad, you got to pass on that one. But let me ask you something. You got your license, but you did sell some houses as well, though. I mean, it's not like you just went straight into that. I mean, were you actively using your license while you're doing the productivity coaching?
Well, let me kind of back up to that a little bit. So he hired me to be a productivity coach before I even got a license. Oh. Part of the deal was I'm going to help you get your license. And so I started coaching agents before I even had a license. And some of you may be sitting out there going, well, wait, how could you possibly do that? Well, coaching people is a process. All right. Again, I'm not looking for coaching clients. That's not why we're doing this or anything. But if I were to take you on as a coaching client, I'm going to process getting you to where you want to be. I'm not going to try to clone you to become Jim. So I got my license after becoming a productivity coach. And in that particular office, they did not allow productivity coaches to be in production. And the reason for that is they didn't want somebody in leadership competing with agents. And that was fine with me. I got a piece of everybody's transactions. I got a monthly fee. Actually, it's a very lucrative position. I don't think it's as lucrative as being a successful agent, but I did that for 3 years. And then to answer your question, after that, I was in production for a couple of years before I decided to go full time in an RV, which Jason does not really can lend itself to being in production.
Well, no, it's funny too, because when Jim's my coach and we have our weekly coaching calls, and my first question was, where are you? Where in the world is Jim today? And where's Waldo? And so that's always kind of the fun way to kick our first calls. But I had a question for you. So, you've being a professional speaker, you've literally spoken to tens of thousands of people, but being a productivity coach, you've had hundreds of agents that you stood in front of. The theme of our podcast is now what? And so when you were standing up there, could you see traits in agents that you felt that they had a chance to take it to the next level, or what did you see stand up in front of that room that would help the podcast? And because there's people that are just getting started, and what are some things that they could focus on or that you saw that could kind of help them?
Well, that's a great question, dude. Here's what I felt like my responsibility was. Yes, I've stood in front of tons and tons and tons of people, both as a keynote speaker and as a trainer. And I've stood in front of groups that I was doing sales training for and looked at the group and gone, what are you doing here? I mean, how are you in sales? One of my favorite clients of all time is Halliburton. And when I went to work for them, I was already traveling all over the world working for them. And I would stand in front of their salespeople. And after about a month or two, I finally sat down with the guy that had hired me. And I said, hey, there's a bunch of people in this class that really shouldn't be here. How do y'all select your talent? Well, Halliburton, if you were in the field and you were doing a great job, next day you'd be sitting behind a desk with a client list, with a coat and tie on. You were a salesperson. I mean, there was no real process. As a matter of fact, that's kind of how I got into the selection side that we do so much of now. Is we gave them a system for selecting better talent. Long story short, their failure rate dropped from about 45% down to less than 20%. So I have stood in front of audiences and I have looked at people in the eye and thought, what are you doing here? When I first got to Keller Williams, and as a productivity coach, I did a lot of what they call Ignite training. I did a lot of other classes for agents and everything on social media. You name it. I love teaching. And yeah, man, I would stand there and look people in the eye, and I would think inside of myself, what are you doing here? I mean, it's kind of, again, it's why we came up with the now what deal. But I came to this conclusion, and I actually learned it from being in the professional speaking business. I was the president of the National Speakers Association Houston chapter twice. And I remember the first day I ever walked into one of those meetings, how they treated me. They treated me like I was a professional. There were some people that didn't, but most everybody did. And so the second time I was the president of the chapter, our theme was honor the dream, do the work. In other words, I'm going to honor the dream of everybody that walks through that door like I did one day, but I'm going to challenge them to do the work. Well, I adopted that position with the people that had gotten a real estate license and had come to Keller Williams and decided to hang their license there and were sitting in my class. I'm going to honor your dream, but I'm going to challenge you to do the work. And to really kind of answer your question, yes, I would look at people and go, oh my gosh, I don't feel like you have what it takes to be successful, but I'm going to honor the dream and I'm going to give you everything I can. And for me, Jason, one of the reasons I wanted to do the podcast was I saw way too many people come through that class that failed for a variety of reasons. And I knew that real estate could have changed their life forever. And as I think we said in podcast 0, change their kids' lives, their kids' lives, their family, change their lives forever, because real estate is an incredible vehicle. And everybody starts off at the same place. Everybody starts off at ground zero. Now, if you have a larger database of people that then you've got a leg up. But everybody can come into real estate and create an incredible life. All right. And again, part of what you and I want to focus on is we're going to help them create the business they want, not the business their broker says they ought to have or whatever. So yeah, I saw way too many people in my classes that I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know how you're going to get there, but let's get after it and let's figure it all out. So let's see where we can go from there.
Yeah, no, that's exactly where I was kind of thinking. So you read my mind on that, as we tend to do with each other sometimes, but yeah, right. But no, I think you nailed it. I think a lot of what you're so great at is being able to see people. And then, like you said, it's not a cookie cutter situation. We can help people build the business that they want, get there, on their path. And, a lot of people come in, and actually it was a Gary Keller podcast talking about, people come into real estate thinking they have this like untold wealth and private planes. Well, the reality is you got to get started. You got to replace the income that you came into it with, and then build the dream to suit what it is that's great for you and your family. I think a lot of what we can do is really take people from wherever they're starting and help them get to whatever the level is that's going to be, suited for them and their family. And like you said, it can be the private plane if that's where you want to get to, or it can be just a great live-in and time with your family. So, yeah. Well, thank you very much. Anything else you'd want to add to it? I mean, I think we've covered the background and how you got into real estate, and then how, my last introduction, we talked about how, we dovetailed together into this. Is there anything else you'd want to add to it?
Yeah, I think as we started talking about doing this podcast, one of the things I think is important, and from a coaching perspective, you're from the agent perspective, but from a coaching perspective, I think I want to encourage people out there that there is a way that you can build the business you want. Not every way fits everybody. One of the things we'll spend a lot of time talking about is all the different methodologies that people can use to be a real estate agent and be successful at it. There is no one right way. If anybody tells you there's one right way to do it, run now, run fast, run far, because I don't believe that's the case. One size shoe does not fit all. But there is a shoe that fits you. And if you're willing to do the work, if you're willing to put in the hours, you're willing to learn. I always told people one of the things that's difficult about being successful in real estate is most everybody comes out of a 9-to-5 job into a job where they have a lot of freedom. That's tough. Everybody comes from a job where they have a background, but to be successful in real estate, you have to learn how to run a business. You have to learn how to market. You have to learn how to sell. You have to learn all different kinds of skill sets that you may not have. But here's the good news. They're all learnable. There's nothing about this that you can't learn and be successful at. And eventually we're going to teach you how to farm out the stuff you don't like to do. I don't want you being a successful real estate doing transaction coordinating. That's just dumb. So I would encourage everybody to listen to the podcast by saying, look, there's a way that you can do this. If you're sitting there like a lot of people in my class that, were sitting there, they got their license and they're going, now what? Okay. Or you're sitting there and you're a year into it and you've only done 3 transactions with your grandma and your aunt and your uncle, and you're going, now what? I mean, did I just waste a year? Did I waste all this time and money? My answer is no. Or if you're sitting there and you're 3 years in and you're doing 12 transactions, which is probably about a break-even point, and you're going, well, now what? I mean, how do I get to 24? How do I get to 36? How do I get to 60? That's what this podcast is all about. And I believe it. And I know, Jason, you believe that people can do that. And I want to encourage them that we're going to encourage you. We're going to tell you can do it. But at the same time, we're going to kick you in the butt. We're going to challenge you to do it. We're going to tell you if you're not doing the work, you're wasting your time. One of my favorite lines in class, particularly the first class, I would tell agents all the time, my job is to get you into or out of real estate as fast as I can. And I know people would kind of look sideways at me, but I believed it was my job to get them in or get them out as fast as possible so they weren't wasting any time. And I think you and I are going to have that kind of tone about what we do. We're always going to encourage people, but we're going to challenge them at the same time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Along the same lines, it's considered the world's most expensive hobby. So don't make it a hobby, make it a career, right? Like if you're going to honor the dream, honor yourself, do the work, and then it is possible. But it's a symbol that, and it's be consistent, be resilient, do the work. That's it.
Well, so I'm going to be a little discouraging and encouraging at the same time here. You've heard the 80-20 rule, 80% of the agents or 20% of the agents do 80% of the work. That's not true. It's a 5-95 rule.
Right.
5% of the agents do about 95% of the business. But here's the cool thing. That means it's really easy to differentiate yourself from the 95% that aren't doing that much. Unfortunately, Jason, as you know, when you get successful, you'll have to deal with the knucklehead agents out there that don't know what they're doing. And so, that's just kind of part of the deal, but you can do this. And you can do it in a way that's really powerful. So I totally agree with you. That's an important part.
Absolutely. Well, thanks everybody for checking us out on this podcast. And Jim usually says the subscribe below. Yeah. So I'll let him finish it up because I don't know the rest of it. So how do we wrap this up?
Yeah, subscribe below. All right. If you like it, let us know. You can catch us on YouTube, where if you want to see our beautiful faces every week, you can do that. Certainly comment below. We'll answer those. Share it with people. If you're listening to us on a iTunes or Spotify or something like that, then again, we appreciate it. Let us know how we can help you and share it with somebody. Tell folks about it, and we help you guys. Appreciate you guys helping us build our community. Again, trust at the end of the day, we're here for you. We want you to have the best. So thanks a lot, Jason. I appreciate it, man. You're the best.
Have a good day.
Take care, gang.